How many of you would love to have a product offering like flying off the shelves and bringing in the revenue for your business without you compromising your values in sustainability? How many of you would love to have the right people, investors, collaborators, employees actually come to you instead of you chasing after them frantically and not getting anywhere? Thank you. The fact that you came here today tells me that at least one of these questions resonate with you. And this might be like common business challenges to solve. But I feel especially keen to talk about this to a community of people in the sustainability and impact realm because you are a community that wants to create a better world. And you have the products that can replace out something that's unsustainable in the market. You care deeply about the impact you want to make, and you want to do all of this while being profitable so that when you are being taken care of, you also have more resources to grow the purpose and impact you stand for. Some of you probably already poured years into making sure that your product solution works. It delivers great performance. It should be a no-brainer to switch over from unsustainable incumbent product in the market. It should be flying off the shelves when people hear and learn about it. Except it did not. Now, apart from the technical certificates of things like safety and performance of the product, which is super important, especially if your product is in something like construction or personal use, you have to remember that the first person that you actually need to get through is not the user, it's the procurement team. And that may not understand all these aspects about your product's performance, and it's all technical specs and all. But this team or this person has been given a list of specifications to look for and a price point that they need to meet while accumulating resources for the company. And so you need to connect with them quite differently from how you would connect with the user themselves. Because if the procurement team doesn't understand the outcome of using your product and what it's supposed to achieve, then they're probably not even going to pick up your brochure or consider you for a tender invite. And even if you did get the tender invite, the conversation that you will have is probably going to be about cost. Can anyone relate to that? Thank you. So who are you talking to is a very important question that we need to bear in mind when we're talking about scaling sustainable solutions. One thing that product owners or the technical people who have created the solution often do is that they fall in love with their solution. But in reality, in order to highlight your story to someone who practically doesn't know much about your solution or doesn't really understand how it fits into the bigger scheme of things, what you really got to do in your story is to fall in love with the problem that you're solving and talk about that problem with so much passion as you may have for your solution. Then dropping your solution into the laps of these people that you're talking to becomes much more easier to relate to and understand. So what are you saying to them? And where are you getting these points to highlight in your story? Today, we're going to be looking at a number of tools and techniques that could help you communicate yourself and your solution more effectively. I like to call it clarity from outside in and clarity from inside out. Outside in the sense that the ESG reporting realm is starting to tell us what investors, what reporting clients who are looking for investors are actually thinking is important. Why? Because it impacts their finances. And in order for us to really get clarity of what parts in our story or our product to specify and highlight, we really want to understand them from that perspective. Readiness is to meet your clients with the ESG conversation that's meaningful and having data to substantiate it. And inside out, though, is so important before we can even get to that point, because without founder clarity, without the brand clarity, then it's easy to pick the shiny pennies, pick the easy low-hanging fruits that may not actually add so much more value towards that story you have about your solution. So I'm really happy today to be sharing this training space with one of my friends, Cherry, from Blue Thumb Creative, because I'm going to be looking from the clarity of outside in, and Cherry is really going to be helping us understand clarity from inside out. So who are we, and why should you even believe what we're talking about today? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lee Jin Chin. I am the chairperson of Circular Business Association, and I'm also a FSA credential holder for the IFRS ISSB standards on sustainability financial reporting. I am the lead trainer for the ESG Ready certification program that's being run at Circular Business Association with more than 12 years of consulting, mainly for the government sector, as well as for multilateral agencies like the United Nations Development Program. Was part of the team that wrote the final Millennium Development Goals report in 2015 for national government, and also part of the team that wrote the first National Voluntary Review for the Sustainable Development Goals, again for national government. Apart from that, I have a background in environmental sciences, mainly ecology, as well as environmental economics. I'm very thankful to have had that opportunity to become a Circular Economy Fellow since the 2016, together with the Smith-Mather Fellowship on Circular Economy. So I come very strongly from the sustainability background. I got involved since I was 9 years old, moving from volunteerism to activism to policy, and then now into the corporate sector. I'm really happy to be able to see so many different aspects of sustainability and be able to share with you all today why it's so important to understand ESG readiness from the financial reporting perspective, so that you can gain more clarity of what people are looking for from outside in. Now, Cherry is actually going to be covering brand clarity. You know, how do you streamline your path for rapid growth? And Cherry is actually the brand experience director at Blue Thumb Creatives to explore, this very powerful and unlooked truth, which is sustainable products can't replace unsustainable products if people don't even know that you are there or relate to you. Cherry developed the integrated end-to-end process for branding while taking her master's in entrepreneurship in 2014. And for over 20 years, she's actually provided guidance and tools for leaders in both local and international brands, such as Tapa King, Hane Laban, to grow in ways that truly add value to the world. Cherry will be sharing the Brand Power Tool, which is born from lessons from 2 decades of helping these legacy and family-owned businesses grow with purpose. And we're really going to be learning a few more techniques, which is the 5P and your Ikigai techniques, in order for us to find that internal clarity and that projecting back outwards in the brand clarity. So thank you very much for joining us in today's session, Cherry.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'm really grateful to be here. So we've been helping businesses and brands scale and grow, and I realize that we are also contributing to a lot of waste because of unsustainable practices. And I'm grateful that we're friends and that I get to learn about more sustainable practices, and it also gives me more confidence to also share it with our clients here. Um, it's not something that I learned, like what you've been practicing this for a long time, and yeah, it's helpful for me to also know how I can also introduce this to our clients, because the younger audiences now, like the Gen Zs, are very much concerned about what's happening to the planet, and if we're not speaking to them on their terms, then they're also not going to connect with us. And they're going to be the biggest market, so they'll be the ones choosing who to give their money to.
And also statistically, actually has a few studies that shown this generation that's becoming the largest market just by age and size. More than 80% of them actually would look for employers that have value statements of like, okay, what does this company stand for? And if they don't have some sort of sustainability related mission, the chances of this talent actually pursuing even an interview is much lowered. So they're not even interested in these type of companies. So not
Mm.
only are they behaving in certain ways as consumers of parting with their money, but also how they're getting the money they're making decisions about sustainability and the value statements that companies bring to them as well. So that's like, wow, two, two,
Yeah.
two
So,
sides of the coin coming together there.
so they're going to be the future purchasers
Mm, mm,
and future customers.
yeah, yeah. So with that, I'd really like to get the today's training kicked off. Circular Business Association, we are an ecosystem builder that really focuses on solving the climate crisis and creating a livable world by actually focusing on enabling implementation. Okay, so whatever training that we deliver essentially is not going to try to be like very academic in its sense. Yeah, we actually want to see how we can pick out the most necessary pieces of information so that people can get on with implementation. So in today's training, I really hope that you will try on the jacket, try and understand this and see how you can like implement it inside your various business operations. Okay. Now, the first one that I really wanted to like blast off with is actually attacking this myth that a lot of businesses who have some sort of sustainable product will have. Okay. Now, a lot of the products out there or product owners out there, you may actually believe that you need to have all these third-party assurances about ESG data before you can have meaningful conversations with your client about it. Okay. And this is actually a myth. Okay, this is actually a myth. Even if your clients are asking you about it, it's probably because they don't know any better. And that's just where they would go to like, do you have this certificate? Do you have this third party assurance? Blah, blah, blah. Now, remember, all of us are actually on a journey, including your clients, okay, including the procurement teams that's handling you. They are also on a journey to figure out what's going to work for them and what's going to actually really get them in the realm of fulfilling their sustainability commitments. Now, as suppliers and vendors, right, your client that is reporting in their sustainability financial reporting is probably going to have a consulting team to do all the calculations. And then they're going to have another team to audit and make sure that sustainability report that they're going to submit is checked and the calculations are correct and all the assumptions are consistent and, basically not get them in trouble. Okay. And to do that, they don't actually need aggregated data from suppliers that no one knows where the data come from and that they can only trust you about. These teams actually want to know these 5 key things so that they can actually do their job for this reporting company. So what are these 5 things? Now, as suppliers and vendors, what you need to have ready as a data preparedness when you're going to have conversations with your client about your ESG solution is the type of data that they really need. So the first question that their teams are going to be asking is this the right data? Is this supplier and vendor actually giving me the right data that is relevant to what needs to be measured and what needs to be reported to our investors, right? The second would be, where did this data actually come from? What are the sources of this data? Is this the right source? You need to document that so that you can actually tell these teams, say, this is where we got the data from. And number 3, how is it collected? This is where a lot of people, start to jump in before they even figure out the first 2 questions. A lot of people jump in at this point and say, "Oh, I'm following this methodology. I'm using this indicator. I'm using that standard, that framework, this collection procedure," without actually being clear of items number 1 and 2. It actually is like trying to run before you can even crawl. Okay. So remember, when it comes to all these methodologies, standards, indicators, the collection procedures, the data collection tools that you use. All of this is actually just to answer like, how was this data collected? Okay, and that influences the quality of that information that you're going to share with your client. But if it's not relevant, if the source that you got that data from is incorrect, then actually how you collect it is not going to be that important. Okay, right. So the fourth item, therefore, is what are the assumptions that were used in the process of getting this data, right? Because sometimes you can't collect all the data. You need to make some assumptions, right? Even the places that you get the data from, you probably can't cover every person. So maybe you're going to take a small sample of it. So how are you going to sort of let these teams check or be sure that they can trust that data? You really need to be sharing with them what assumptions you actually made in the process of collecting, as well as in the process of processing this data. Okay. Now, finally is number 5, which is there an auditable trail? Is there a way that these clients, if they needed to, if they were sending their consultant teams to check, would be able to find all this documentation about the 4 items at the top? Okay. Now, if it's Excel sheets in 6 different people's laptops with no backup and nobody actually have oversight and everybody can access the data to fudge it, then that is not considered an auditable trail. Okay, so you want to actually have some form of plan, like a disclosure plan, a place where you're storing this data properly, making sure that not anybody can just go in and change the data so that you stay on the right side of the law, when actually changing the data itself is already not staying on the right side of the law. You really don't want to be condemning your client to falsely report something that would change their investors' perspective of them. Okay, so as suppliers and vendors, we're actually sort of located in a very interesting position because there are 2 points of views that we have to look at. The first is in terms of our own business as the supplier, as the vendor. How are these things actually impacting my own business? But the second hat that we actually have to put on, and this draws a lot in terms of being empathizing with your client who needs to report to their investors, you need to actually put on the hat and say that from my client's perspective, is this relevant to them? Does this solve their problem? And if it does solve their problem, what data can I prepare so that I can make sure that when they're talking about it to their investors, we got their back? Okay, so I want to sort of touch on the very first question there, because all the other 4 is like additional detail. Okay, if we don't get the right data in the first place, then you can't actually even tell the story about your product and the solution that you offer to their problems, right? So we actually want to be looking at this very first question: is this going to be the right data? And bearing in mind that I am looking from outside in to try and give you some clarity, and I'm going to be talking at it from a perspective of ESG reporting, so sustainable financial reporting, especially the IFRS standards called ISSB. Now, why is all this suddenly like happening? Okay, we first need to understand the driving factors that's making investors actually need this information. Now, the first thing is that investors are starting to see that more and more a company's value is represented by intangible assets. In the past, it was like, okay, how much land you got, how many factories you got, right? How much equipment you got. Those are all tangible assets. But if you look at the studies today, as much as 90% of a company's valuation, like how much a company is worth, is actually in their intangible assets. So it could be things like brand. It could be in things of your customer, list. It could be in terms of your intellectual property, the solutions that the company has developed, etc. That may not be physical, right? So it's just knowledge. So all of these are intangible assets, and investors are starting to find, oh my gosh, what's reported in accounting accounting standards to produce financial reports is insufficient for me as an investor to make an informed decision of whether this company is worth that much. Okay, so if you can't even understand how much the company is worth, then how can you make a decision how much money you're going to pump into that company, right? And how are you going to make decisions on whether the amount you pumped in is going to give you a returns so that you can earn in that process. So investors are starting to find that, oh, there's actually a lot of things that's beyond the typical reporting of accounting and financial statements. We need to understand more. And secondly, just by default of the physical world, starting to put a limit on us. We're starting to see a lot more climate effects, stronger sort of natural disasters that's happening. There's various supply chain disruptions that's happening as a result. And therefore, it is becoming material to businesses, right? They can't afford to ignore this anymore. So investors are saying like, okay, I understand there's a lot of things that I need to learn more about before I can make an informed decision. But what's going to hit their head, the nail on the head even further, is that regulators have literally come out and said that you are the ones giving people money. You should know what they're doing with your money. And investors are saying like, I can't know what they're doing with our money because no one has mandated them to give me the information for me to make those decisions. So that's why there's been a whole spew of like regulatory action that's been taken in 2024, even before 2024. But 2024 was like this explosive moment. So many things changed at the same time. Now, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive came on board in 2023. This was in Europe, but then China also started moving into that, using the same standards as well, saying that, large companies, listed companies actually need to be reporting. We saw the same happen in Singapore, and it wasn't only public listed companies, it was the non-listed large companies as well needing to report. Malaysia followed suit, Japan came on board, and more countries literally decided or had taken steps already to make sustainability financial reporting according to the IFRS standards as part of a mandatory framework. Means that companies had to report. And by doing that, investors would then be able to get the information they needed to make financial decisions. Okay. So this is where from outside in, there is this push to understand like, okay, so what do these investors actually want in their information? If my client is trying to look for investors to pump in money to their company, what does my client actually need to report? Okay. And as a supplier and vendor, where can I support them? Because you really need to be asking yourself, are you a creator of risk or are you an enabler of opportunity for your client? Now, if your solution is still in the unsustainable realm, or maybe it produces so many pollutants, right, that no matter how many certificates or things you have, it just shows that you produce so much pollutants, then you're going to become a creator of risk for your client because they have to deal with the financial consequences of not becoming sustainable. And we talk about financial consequences, both in a positive and negative way. We're talking about revenue, cost structures, assets and liabilities, as well as the cost of capital. So if you're creating risk for your client because of what you are supplying to them, and that actually made it harder for this client to secure loans or secure equity or to have a good price for the shares that they're selling, then unfortunately, you as the supplier are probably going to be replaced, right? Because they can't afford to have so many touch points that are creators of risk. Now, flip it on the other end, this is a beautiful opportunity for suppliers to actually become enablers of opportunity. And you have to actually highlight those points because this is the outside in clarity that they need to say, okay, I'm going with this supplier because they understand what is the sustainability matters that's influencing my finances. And therefore, if my supplier can give me the data, say, this is how I'm identifying the risk, handling the risk, and actually finding a way to bring in either some sort of savings in costs or revenue increase, etc., then I'm likely to go with this supplier, right? They know my lingo. They know what I'm talking about. And that's why, although there are many different ways that sustainability reports have been created in the past few years, the one that we're really starting to see a lot of mandatory action, meaning there's legal basis countries literally demanding public listed companies to actually report is in the financial materiality realm. Okay, how is sustainability matters such as pollution, such as climate, actually impacting a company's financial position, financial performance, and financial prospects? So it's not such a pure thing to like just say, oh, we have this impact. Yes, you have that impact, but how does it impact your client's finances? Okay, and that's where we're seeing a lot of pain at the moment, and suppliers and vendors who understand that even if you haven't yet found all the data to support yourself, you're already one step ahead because you can have that conversation with your client to understand what problems they're facing and where the pressure to report is coming from. Okay, so at the ESG Ready certification program, especially level 2, we actually work with our participants to say, okay, how do we identify like your top 5 critical data? Something that is about your solution or about your operations that would give your client that type of confidence that, oh, this is going to be a preferred supplier, yeah, because they can understand us and they can also provide us with that data eventually, even if not now, but eventually they do. They have something built in. So we actually try and find the common point between the data of your existing clients that they need to report, data that you are targeting for ideal clients, who are your ideal clients, what information they're looking for, and then data that's relevant to your own company's biggest impact. So if let's say, in order to deliver your solution, you actually produce pollutant Y, okay, it could be like carbon dioxide or something, then you need to be ready to report that and show how you're improving on that, right? So that your client will be able to report that to their investors and sort of like say, this is how we're managing the situation. And lastly, you want to have data that shows the biggest benefit of using your product over your competitor's product. Okay, sometimes it's in about security of the data. So for example, if you're working with people relating to safety and security, CCTVs, data security and customer privacy is actually really important. But if you're talking about, let's say, agriculture sectors, right, they would be looking for things like, oh, what's the germination rate? How hardy is the seed? The climate is going to change to become drier and hotter for more months. Can your seedlings actually survive? For example, how do you make sure that these seedlings have a high chance of surviving? Does it need a lot of irrigation? Because water and irrigation is really expensive. So how do we actually deal with this? So by identifying these top 5 critical data, you're going to actually try and position yourself to be closer to your client and make them feel understood, that you understand their problem. Okay. Now, of course, you may say some of the solutions is beyond my own company. And this is the beauty of belonging to an ecosystem, much like the ecosystem that Circular Business Association is building. Because we're saying that even if you can't solve it in your own company alone, you always can turn back to the ecosystem and find other players who are also genuinely trying to solve the problem that can perhaps work with you and deliver a complete solution to your client. Okay, now I'm just going to close my section with just a few more points. The first is people say, okay, you talked a lot about data is needed. So actually, what data is needed? Now, if we look at the IFRS standards, especially S2, you will see that climate reporting is a must do. Okay, so if you have some sort of sustainability product, getting like your product carbon footprints or your life cycle assessments that can show your emissions of the product or emissions of your organization, that's going to be something your client will definitely need. Okay, because they have to report on climate. They have to report on emissions. And they've already picked the methodology. It's in the standard, it's the GHG protocol. Okay, so make sure you get that done. Now, the question then says, okay, then what about other sustainability topics that's not climate, right? Maybe it's pollution, maybe it's, I don't know, safety, maybe it's fair wages and things like that. It's like, that's very true. So where do you actually go to get that information? The one that is required is actually the SASB standards. Okay. And in the SASB standards, you can go onto their website, you can actually log in, and they will actually show you all the different sort of key sustainability topics that is already known to have a financial impact on the companies that's involved. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly show you how that looks like so that you can go and use this to find clarity for your own industry. We actually work with our participants of the ESG Ready certification program to say, okay, how do we actually narrow it down specifically for your industry? What types of information indicators have been mentioned? Oh, sorry. And also, what is the indicators or methodologies that's recommended? So if you log in at that website, you arrive here at the SASB Standards Navigator. You can search by industry. You can also browse by, this one that they've already written out. For example, if let's say you're involved with building products and furnishing, you can see inside building products and furnishing, they have various topics that they've already mentioned out. There's energy management, management of chemicals and products, product life cycles, as well as wood supply chain management. And inside each one, they give a description of what actually is needed, but they also give you the metrics, the indicators you should be measuring, and the protocol to measure it. Okay, so you're not actually left alone to figure out what data is needed and how to collect the data and to make sure there's certain quality and relevance to what you're sharing with your clients. Okay, is all of this necessary to complete before you can talk to a client? No. Remember myth number one that we busted: you do not need to get to the stage of third-party assurance before you have these conversations. But the clearer you are on how you're solving their reporting pains, the better you will be positioned as their preferred supplier and vendor. Okay, right. So I'm going to actually come back to the PowerPoint slides. And what I'm actually going to do is to actually pass the floor over to Cherry very soon. Now, before I do that, though, because I've already covered the outside in and Cherry's going to cover now the inside out, I wanted to actually share something with you all. Now, often when people hear a brand, what do you think of? You think of a good name or something you are known for among customers. But brand clarity is more than just attracting customers. When done right, it makes decision-making on which investors to go for, which new talent to hire, which people to work with, collaborate with, or even distribute your product. It makes all of these decisions so much easier. And the foundation for that, as Cherry has taught me, is in the clarity of the founder. Now, when I graduated from high school, my dad told me, the world is your oyster. You can put your mind to anything you want. What he didn't warn me was that I can do anything, but not everything. And without clarity about what one actually wants, it's easy to pursue all the opportunities that is presented in front of you. And then you get anxious about the fear of missing out. What if this was that lucky break that I was waiting for? What if that was the perfect collaborator, the perfect hire? What if? And how has that served you so far? And how much time has it cost you? And I like to play this testimonial from Tapa King at this point because she puts it so well about how brand clarity can help you. And after this short video, I'll be pleased to then pass it over to Cherry, who will guide us to find our brand and founder clarity so that we can truly make brand a power tool to scale our solutions and our businesses further. So please kindly watch this video.
2018, when we booked them, we thought in changing the brand logo, the color feel of Tapa King, it will make a difference. But we have to understand who we are, what we stand for. So in doing the brand clarity session, we understood our brand persona, our brand culture, and what are the products that really best fit our brand. So currently, whenever franchisees would ask us, can we launch this product? Now we can say yes, we can, or no, we cannot, because we know now who we are and what we stand for. Therefore, our brand vision of being the best Filipino tapa in the whole world became very real to us. So our mission is to really deliver the brand promise and stay on brand all the time. So thanks to Blue Thumb and to Cherry Co.
Right, over to you, Cherry.
So thank you, Legion. And in addition to what you were saying about being positioned as the preferred supplier or vendor, I think even the name, like being called a supplier, right? I think it could be elevated now that you're now like a partner if you're able to suggest, right? And not just be reactive to what your clients ask from you, but because you share the same values that you want to take care of the environment and the future of its inhabitants, right? It's not like you're going out of your way to do it just because it's part of who you are. So I'm grateful that I'm here because when it comes to brand clarity, that was actually something that I didn't have when I started my company 20 years ago. So I know like when we first started, we were more of a graphic design company. So we were very reactive to the projects that came to us. So we would work on several industries, like different industries, from banks to schools to real estate. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there wasn't something that tied them together. And I think now that I'm much older, it's been 2 decades, and I do realize that time is not something you can get back. And my energy isn't what it used to be as when I was younger, right? I would be very gung-ho about, different industries, and I'd be excited to try different things. But I realized that, when you don't have the same values, it also takes up a lot of your time and energy figuring things out, versus if it's something that you loved and you're passionate about, then it comes so much more easier and effortless. So I remember like I hired like a consultant from like HR, because HR wasn't, I'm a designer that went into business and I didn't know anything about managing people. So I hired an HR consultant from a big conglomerate who is, doing this as a side hustle. And and I was he was helping me come up with our vision and our values, but I think the way that he did it didn't give me the confidence. Like in a way, it felt like he was spoon feeding me, and it didn't give me. It didn't feel like it was a tool that helped me know myself better. It kind of helped like he was imposing like big company ways on a small company like mine, which which also brings us to why I do this now for our clients. Like I'm not from HR, and I'm not an org dev person, but I think from that experience, that's what makes me feel strongly about this, because when I go to different companies and I see their vision statements or their values, on their posters or in the boardroom, and then I ask them about it, like the owners or the employees, sometimes their answer to me would be, oh, HR thought of it. So that in itself is clear that they're not using it as a strength to help them make better decisions. And I think that yeah, like nowadays that the world is operating in such a fast, like with digital and everything, we need to also make decisions that are not based on trends or shiny objects, which we tend to do because of, how things are. But if we slow down now and build the foundation by getting to know ourselves and what is important to us, having that will eventually, like, it'll help our people also make decisions when we're not around. Like when we're on vacation, they wouldn't be, calling us. So with Tapa King, they were the third, it was bought from previous owners. So the person in the video, she's the COO. They hired her 5 years ago. So that's when we rebranded, because the owners felt that, they were not progressing. So they hired experts in the fast food industry. But when the experts came in, there was no direction to guide them. So that's where the branding came in. And when they were able to discover who they are and cascade it to their team members, and they shared their values, that's when the owners, who is also like a conglomerate, like a family conglomerate, like they have other businesses, the owners were able to also focus on their other businesses because they now have a brand that the people they hired can use to guide their decisions. Yeah, so here it shows that when the owner knows themselves, then they can use it as a light, and this light would guide everyone in their company towards that shared vision. Um, and as you said a while ago, like the Gen Zs are looking for that guidance. I mean, they know like what the world is turning into, and they want to make choices that'll benefit the planet. So if the company has this vision, then they'll want to support it, whether they're your customers or they're your future purchasers or even CEO, right? And when it comes to like the intangible asset that you mentioned a while ago, like Apple is one of the biggest companies, and they make the most money, but they don't own any factories, right? So so this, yeah, so during the pandemic, I just wanted to share also that it was a crazy time, and I think it was like a stormy weather. So this is what we wanted to um depict here. So I went to Bukidnon. It's a province in the Philippines. Like it's a place that is like yeah, away from the city. And I met a datu there. So a datu is a person, like he's like a chieftain that like a tribe member. So their wisdom is really based on nature. And I think he somehow sensed that I was troubled, and because that was the time that I just gave birth, or my daughter was like about a year old. And when I was single, the world was, I mean, even if the world was kind of crazy, I was okay with it. But after having a child, I think that's when I started, worrying about what's going to happen. How am I going to guide her? And I think he sensed that. And the story he gave me was, you could be a ship in stormy weather, but as long as you know yourself and you know your star or where you're going, then that is all that, that needs for you to have that confidence. And that's what guides me in raising my daughter, Sage. Like, am I equipping her to know herself so she'll know who to be friends, or like who to, hang out with, or um yeah, like you're not choosing people based on, if they're, they have like for the usual reasons that people normally choose people,
For
right?
convenience.
Yeah, for convenience, or like if you're going to look for a job, you look for the highest pay. You'd look for something that aligns with your values, because yes, you might get the highest pay, but what if they're not giving you a chance to speak or to be who you are, right? They're taking your soul away, but yes, they're paying you. Um, so there, and I think that that's the same guidance that I'm also using for our clients. If our clients can know themselves and know where they're going, like Tapa King, they're able to also attract the right employees, the right franchisees that also value what they value. Because otherwise, even if you have all these things in place, all these policies or rules in place, they're gonna find ways to go around them unless you have the same values. And I attended a workshop recently. They said that instead of calling it a policy, why not call it like a values alignment instead of like rules? That way it's more open, like people can actually come up with their own way of solving things rather than being stuck in a rigid system of rules, right?
Hmm. And this is where I think like the brand becomes so important, because if you feel like you belong with that brand, the brand speaks your truth, speaks your value, then it's
Yeah.
almost like a non-brainer to behave in certain ways or make decisions, even if it's beyond yourself. So cool.
Yeah. And I think now that we have access to like similar technologies, like people can import things from China or anywhere in the world, it's also important that we find ways to to design it that we're adding our own values to how we do things, like whether it's a service or a product. Like here in the Philippines, like when it comes to bubble tea, for example, everybody has pretty much the same flavors. Or when it comes to French fries, they have the same powdered, cheese and like it's very similar. So the only thing that differentiates is actually they would have different names or logos. So the brand is beyond that, but right now they're just seeing it as a way to like differentiate, but just on that very surface level way,
Mm,
right?
mm.
So it turns out that people will still choose you based on price or convenience, which is you would want them to choose you and make to become like a destination, right? Like people go out of their way to seek you out because they know that, of the quality that you bring to your products and services.
Yeah, that's really true. Thanks, Cherry, for that.
Mm.
Should I move to the next slide then?
Um, would you I think that Rajesh is in the
Yes.
room.
Hello. Hi, Cherry, Lijin. So I'm so sorry I'm late. And actually, I just listened to your podcast yesterday that Lijin sent to me. So I feel like I know you already.
Thank you. Um, so if your vision were a movie, would you pay to watch or would you be excited to star in it? So would you
Mm.
like to rate um vision statement? But I'm sure like you're in this room, I'm sure that you have an amazing vision statement. I mean,
Yeah.
would,
Oh,
would
for
you
me,
like
I think for me it's to rid the world of plastic waste or plastic
oh
in general. So yeah, that's my big vision. So I would
yes.
watch it. I would pay to watch that. I
Thank
don't know if everybody else would. That's the
I
challenge for me
would.
right now. Okay, that's great.
I
We have
would.
at least three of us.
I
Yeah, mine's a 10 out of 10. I'm excited to star in it. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless of whatever role it turns out to be, even if it's not the main lead, even if
Mm,
it's just a side story,
mm-hmm.
even if the character in the end dies, I still be
Mm,
excited to star in it and be part of it. And yeah, it's just unfolding
mm,
story that no one sort of like knows the ending to at this point. So yeah, I'll be happy
mm,
to take that chance.
and
yeah.
that's the beauty of having a brand, like no matter what role, like from the janitor to the president, if they all share the vision, right? There's like a story like the janitor is mopping the floor to put a man on the moon. So that's NASA's brand,
Wow.
right? So it's not like a menial chore. It's like his role is just as important as the president because they're all, putting their energy to put a man on the moon.
And just as you mentioned that, I recently actually had like this experience. And like, in a lot of Chinese drama, they actually have like, these main leads who doing amazing things. And then somehow things sort themselves out in the household, they sort themselves out in the workplace, and they just need to focus on this so-called the hero's task that they have to do, right? And I recently had an experience whereby, um, I always thought it'd be hard to deal with two kids, have a household, and have a career that was really fulfilling. But this particular experience at my sister's house actually gave me like a feeling like, oh my God, I actually feel like I am in some sort of Chinese drama, whereby every person, even if it was just as simple as getting the food ready, laying it out, cutting it up for my very young children so that I could just be there and be their mother and make sure they ate. And therefore, once they finished, after being fully a mother, I could switch back into doing whatever task I was doing, which at that point was preparing a stakeholder consultation position paper.
Is it just me or did the sound stop, Legion?
Oops, can you hear me now?
Right, Jess?
I heard her. Yeah. How about
Oh,
you,
you heard
Cherry?
her? Okay.
I
Maybe
did,
it's mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it actually gave me this inspiration that, like, just what you were saying, even if it's a janitor mopping the floor, it's not that it's a menial task. It's actually so important in order for whoever else to play whichever role they're supposed to play. So I think it gave me a renewed appreciation, even for like my virtual assistant, for the interns that I have, for the members that are in the community, for the people who are just, I don't know, replying my social media posts on my behalf. These are seemingly menial, but because it's done, whoever other role that needs to concentrate on whatever it is, they're able to concentrate and they're able to actually focus on those major decisions that only they can do. So, for example, if you are a procurement team, you would be making those decisions about who to procure into the organization to provide resources to your team. But if it's also for, let's say, the CEO or the president, it's to actually build the team, to decide who is on the team. And that takes effort, it takes energy. But if they're worried about like whether or not that social media post actually got posted on, and then next moment is whether the client is calling them and say, hey, I got this something that's broken, then it's very hard to focus your energy to actually build the team. So I love that NASA brand that you just talked about, even from the janitor or the president, what is this all for? And I love it. Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you. And that was actually the turning point also because Blue Thumb has been around for over 2 decades. And like I said, we would work on clients that came, right? Like that seeked us out. And when I wasn't clear yet what I wanted, but when we had like a brand to work on that was it's like they're like a coffee brand and they help indigenous farmers. Like every time you buy a bag, they would plant a tree and teach these indigenous tribes how to grow their own food. So all clients have like we all get like, stress from working on projects, right? But because that aligned with our values, that we knew that our work and sweat was going to something much bigger, it made it easier for us to do the work. Does that make sense? Like it's still a lot of work to create websites and all these things, but even if like there were challenges, we knew that it was like a much bigger cause that we were serving. Does that make sense? That we weren't just selling coffee, we're helping the planet. Like we're helping forest Mindanao.
As a Gen Z sort of intern told me once, if I'm going to go to the grind, man, as well by grinding for something useful.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. Yeah. It's true because there's so many brands nowadays, right? And there's so many of everything. There's a lot of competition. So I mean that applies to having a story and willing to want to do something different. I think it resonates with more and more people these days, especially the Gen Zs. Yeah.
And
It
I think the
helps with that.
pandemic actually changed the realm quite a bit, because the pandemic showed like whatever you thought you were pursuing can be gone in an instant. The so-called freedoms that you had taken for liberties can be
Yeah.
reversed in an instant. And
Yeah.
it forced a lot of people to rethink what is their relationship within the household and the work that they do. So I think the pandemic was like a very necessary turning point for our global society to rethink, why are we even here in the first place? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
completely.
and and it's also the moments like what you said the other day, Legion, when we were having our meeting. You said that your identity is being a good mom.
Mm.
And so what does a good mom do if that's your identity? So in chopping the vegetables and how you serve it, the attention and the care that you put into chopping and slicing and maybe plating it on the plate for your daughter and son to enjoy, or sitting with them and enjoying it with them, right? That is like, yeah, a decision based on the identity or the brand of being a good mother.
Mm, mm. And I love how you use that example, because like once it becomes your identity, it's almost like you don't have to think about it before you make hard decisions, right?
Mm.
So like if even I mean foods is one option, but even like friends, as you were talking about, who you hang out with, who you allow into your space, the time that you give to them, for your children, even, you know, who they are hanging out with and things like that. It all becomes easy to make decisions because it doesn't fit within what you would like them to be exposed to. In the benefit of, you know, becoming a good mom, you actually want to make sure that you are protective of that. So while in the past, if let's say I was doing it for myself, it'd be like, don't be so selfish. People want to spend time with you. You know, people are willing to spend time. You just take it, right? And if someone is going to give you money to do a business, you just take it without actually thinking, does it fit with the identity that I'm going to become? Even if I took their money, does it actually help me to become more of what I stand for? Or is it going to dilute it and distract me and make it more difficult for me to then say no, because now I have like interests included in the whole thing? Yeah.
It's like you're earning money to pay for your future hospital bills, right?
Yeah. 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 So I'm really excited, actually, Cherry, for you to share the two techniques actually that you have, which has helped you in the past to actually find that type of clarity that you described just now. What was it that helped you in those moments? Maybe you can share it with us.
Hmm. Well, I think that like having that time and space to also reflect and become more self-aware what's important to you. So I think like with that, the project came, and that's when I was able to realize it because of that particular project that opened my eyes when we actually went to the province. Because being in the city where everything's so fast-paced, it didn't give me time to reflect. But being up in the mountains, you know, with nature and meeting the tribes, like I even got to, they would have a peace conference every year. So 7 tribes from different places that used to be fighting with each other are now meeting because of this brand that taught them how to farm and grow coffee. So it's now like a partnership relationship that they have with these tribes. And every year they would have a peace conference. So they would have peace songs, peace dances, peace rituals. So everything peace. So peace became their brand of these
Wow.
tribes that they all share.
Wow. So it definitely takes it beyond coffee then. It's like
Yeah.
coffee is just a tool to achieve peace.
Yes, exactly. And reforestation.
Mm. Mm. Right. So should we get into this 5 Ps that you came up with actually? And you have a book on it, right, Cherry?
Yeah, so that also came up during the pandemic because if the pandemic didn't happen, I wouldn't have time to to actually sit back and do that. And I also realized that CEOs don't have time. So that was the time that I thought, okay, CEOs might have time to reflect on their vision during the pandemic. Do you guys have a pen? Like you guys, like this is really quick. And you could just, you know, write 1 or 2 words. Like, this is not something that you need to overthink. So if you have a pen and paper, or you could also type it in your phone. Or if
Yeah.
not, you could also you could also play this again. But so I came up with the 5 Ps of the powerful vision. So it's like, but since people like mistaking branding for marketing anyway, so I decided to kind of, get it from marketing. So I called it the 5 Ps so it's easier to remember. So the first P of having a powerful vision, not just like a usual vision statement that, they rushed and did. So the first P is, what is a gap that you want to fill with your brand that brings joy or relieves pain and frustration for your customers? And my example here is Apple, since it's easy to relate to. And during that time, Apple or Steve Jobs really disrupted the computer industry, because during that time, computers were expensive, they were bulky, they were really intimidating, and he made them simple, beautiful, and easy to use. So that was his purpose. He was also a Zen practitioner, and I think that's also what, made him that's part of his identity that he brought to his business. So you might want to think about your industry. Are there gaps that you feel could bring more joy or, take away their pain?
Mm. Okay.
Okay, so we'll go on to the next one. And because Apple or Steve Jobs valued simplicity, he chose a designer called, his name is John Ive, and he is into minimalist design. So and because and the customers that they also attracted are also into that, the simplicity and the ease and the beauty of the computers that Steve Jobs and his team provided. So if you think about yourself, who are the people in your life that you resonate with the most? What are the qualities that they have? So they could be your family members, your clients, your employees, your collaborators, your franchisees or suppliers. Do they have certain traits or values that you connect with or that you feel at home with? So I think most people like to separate themselves from their business. But for me, if you're going to create a brand, I think that it should be who you are when you're at home and at work. So I would
Yeah.
think that Apple, yeah, I would think that Steve Jobs' home is also very minimal,
Minimalistic.
right? And what's beautiful about having a brand is if he decides to go into other industries, like he decides to make a car or a hotel, then you automatically know based on his values what kind of hotel or car that would look like. And like what Lee Jin said a while ago, right? It's very volatile, right? Like the supply chain. So having a brand also allows you to shift and to adapt, right? And if you need to change industries.
Yes, fall in love with the problem, not fall in love with the solution. So
Yes.
the solutions could always be different. But
Mhm.
the brand is still consistently trying to solve that problem, I guess.
Hmm.
Mm.
So like for when it comes to designers, like there's nothing wrong with other kinds of designers, but if Steve Jobs were to hire a designer that is, into a lot of color, a lot of details, then they wouldn't thrive in a culture like Apple. They would find it more difficult. So it would take more effort for them to contribute. Okay. So
Okay.
let's go on to the next P. Oops. Oh, so this is the Philippines. Sorry, I forgot to remove the planet or Philippines. But in your case, it could be planet or your country. I just thought, it was nice that it had a P in it. So, what does a beautiful, healthy environment or country look like that you would love to be a part of and share with other nationalities? So in the Philippines, like we know that the Philippines like isn't really unlike Japan. When you think of Japan, it's known for good quality, or Germany, right? And that's actually what I would like for the Philippines. Like, how do we level up our quality? Because everyone here seems to be in a rush, and most people, and they're going for something affordable and not exactly quality, because I mean that's sort of the norm, I think, for but I'd like that to change, and we're seeing that people are working on it. So like Japan, Sony, during a time when Japan was not yet known for quality, Sony made it their mission that they would create products that are quality and tell the world that it's from Japan. And somehow that, that influenced other brands. And now, as a country, they're seen as very good quality and high standards. So when it comes to your industry, what would the best, um, yeah, if it's like a cake, what would the best cake be for you? Or what would the best coffee have? Like what qualities? And yeah, like beyond just it being about the product or the ingredients, like how was it made? Who is it supporting? The more that you can add layers to it on why they should choose you, then it's like having a castle and like you're building like a moat around it, and it's harder for others to infiltrate your castle. And I'd like to think of it, we also developed a term like, or we also got this term from Atomic Habits, called the natural advantage, because like we do have a lot of competitors, right? But if we focus on looking inward at our natural advantage rather than always looking over our shoulder and seeing what our competitors are doing, it would be less stressful on our part, and we would bring out more of who we are. So that's what we'd like to do with your brand. And you'll be comparing yourself to yourself. So, how are you a better version today than yesterday? And since you're going into business, why not bring your country with you at the same time?
There's not just the character of you as an individual person as well. So if you can also draw inspiration of characteristics from the cultures you belong to, the countries you belong to, and give that
Mm,
extra layer, as you said, of identity.
yes.
So even if there was like a fake mock-up of what you were doing, probably not quite at the performance level that you are.
Mhm.
But if you had those extra layers of character that people can associate with, you present yourself in a much more relatable way than just on the
Yeah,
price competition.
exactly. Yes, yes.
Understand?
Like I'm Chinese, but born in the Philippines, and we migrated to Canada, but I'm back in the Philippines. So, and before I really didn't know my identity. So, but now it's like I'm more like I'm just embodying it, and just, wherever I'm planted, that's where I'm, gonna. And my husband is Filipino, so I also want my daughter to not feel like she's displaced. So I'm trying to let her like learn about Filipino and Chinese culture and embrace both of that, or wherever
Mm.
just to embrace all cultures actually and learn from them. Okay,
Okay.
so the next P, is everyone good so far? Okay, so the next P is your product or your service. So what does being the best or excellent or quality in your expertise, what would it look like or feel like? So for Apple, they have like titanium computers, very slim in design, very lightweight. So they're not the fastest, they're not the cheapest, but they chose to be this because it aligns with their values. So in contrast to their competitors like Bill Gates, or like IBM, right? They're bulkier computers, but they're definitely stronger or faster. I mean, they can do more things. So it depends on who you're targeting and how you want to serve them. And I think I forgot to mention, so Apple, like in the previous slide, they have like a return, like you can send in your older units so that they can dispose of it properly. And for the last P, prosperity. So now that you have unlimited money from the success of your brand and your business, what would you do with it? So for Wendy's, the fast food chain, when they discovered after he passed away that he was giving his money to orphanages and hospitals because he was an orphan, but that wasn't disclosed as part of his brand. That was just something they discovered. But you don't have to hide it. I mean, it could be part of your brand. Like, why are you working so hard? Like, where do you want to put this money? Because it could also inspire other business owners to do something good with their money.
Hmm. Well, I'd love to do some like hot seats or sharing actually for to like sort of like really help drill that in. I mean, just you asking these questions, Cherry, that prompted me to think about my own brand of a circular business association. Not quite the physical product, but even just thinking of that, and I'd love to share mine, and then I'd love to actually probably hear from one of our participants as well, so that we can actually have like a bit of a conversation around this. Would that be fine, Cherry?
Oh, sure. So, for Apple, they created like a headquarters that has like a solar panel,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
headquarters. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Very quick one. Can you just go back to the product one? I missed a bit of that
oh,
just
okay,
to see
sure.
what was the question. Okay, got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and share mine, and then I'd love to hear from like some of our participants what they came up with. You said it could be it could be a single word, right? Or a single sentence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
each. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna read out mine.
Oh,
Hopefully there's some sort of story that really emerges there. In
mhm.
any case, I think my purpose was really the pain that I wanted to solve was this misconception that you can't profit through sustainability. So I really want to fill that gap that you can profit through sustainability. And the people that I wanted to surround myself with in that journey
Yeah.
had these characteristics of being empathetic, that they
Uh-huh.
were very focused on execution. So it's not just talk, it's actually people who like to execute and take action.
Mhm.
They love the fun of solving complex problems. So the more complex it is, the more fun it is, even though you hate it sometimes. But at the end, like, do you want to play this game? You're like, yeah, I still want to play the game. So I somehow surround myself with people who are similar in that
Mhm.
and they are people who see things as they are, so they're quite realistic in that sense, but they also can see things better than they are, so they can
Mm.
imagine the alternative. And that's the sort of people that I want in circular business association. Of course, last but not
Mm.
least is mutual gain. We all have like win-win. We're here to win
Mm.
together.
Yeah.
So in
Yes.
terms of the planet part or country, I think like what I would like to bring forward, at least from my various experiences and cultures and things, is that whatever we create needs to deal with livelihoods. It gives livelihoods, gives people a way to make a living, right? And that we're people who solve problems in totality. So you don't go halfway, you go all the way. Yeah. So I think that's something that I would like, at least, I come from Malaysia, so I think some Malaysian brands do really well with going all the way, right? But then there are many Malaysian brands that are known for going halfway, and stuff we call it chin cai lah. It's like it's not
Oh, yeah.
it's not so bad, but it's not good either. Just be happy that it's there.
It's just done. It's just done.
It's just done. Yeah, yeah. But we want to actually try and solve problems in totality.
Yes. In the
Yeah.
Philippines, it's called puede na. Like
Puede
it's
na.
puede na, like, it's good. It's,
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
for product, I was thinking of what I like the product, which is Circular Business Association and its products to be known for, is that we may not necessarily have the volume, but every touch point is a quality touch point. So it doesn't matter if it's in content or introductions or getting speakers to engage in expos and things. We're always bringing quality and always a need to know basis to do proper execution. So we're not trying to be like very knowledgeable to the point that we can talk about it and you're super comprehensive, but then when it comes to action, you like can't even fight yourself through a paper bag sort of situation. Actually want people who can get it done, right? And prosperity, if let's say we already overcome we got all the abundance that we want to, I really want any of our community our members to actually be able to walk into the room where people are struggling to move ahead and be able to say like, see it, say it, sort it. That's something in UK they always talk about, to make sure there are no bombs in trains and things like that. If you see something suspicious, you say it out and then they'll sort it, right? So if we can do the same, every time they see a C-based member in the room, it's like the whole atmosphere changes to a sort of calm, because they know we have the know-how, the expertise, the network, and the money and resources to just get it done, right? So you just have to see it, say it out, and resort it. So that's what I hope like the C-based brand will become.
Wow, that's beautiful. So yeah, very clear.
Yeah, but be fair, I didn't just think about this in like the few moments of this exercise. It's been a few years of trying to figure this out. So, but the framework has been useful, I think, for me to also have some reminder clarity, like why I'm pursuing this in a certain fashion and not any other way. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
It'd be great to hear from some participants as well. Like the more that we actually give, Cherry, I think the more feedback we can get. Is that right, Cherry?
Yes, definitely. And just doing it with you and learning like your powerful vision also connects me deeper to you.
Would like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do a sharing.
I can share, yeah. So for me, for purpose, I wrote so kind of the gap to fill would be alternate materials exist outside of glass, steel, plastic, and concrete using natural materials like mycelium. So I'm doing mycelium-based biocomposites to replace all these other materials, right? That are resource intensive and finite, right? So I mean, what we use is agricultural waste together with mycelium, so we can actually grow something totally different, so totally new that has multiple applications, which I think we're just at the cusp of figuring out what the potential is. So I would like to be part of that. That's the purpose. People who I resonate with, I guess, anyone who's really into sustainability, because I've heard people say, oh, so interesting what you do. I never thought about it like that. And I'm not really into environment. I don't know anything much about it. And I'm like, oh, like you're a human being. Like, I don't know what else are you supposed to think about, because these are the people who spend good money traveling outside of their country to remote places, places with clean nature, and everything is like pristine and nice. And but we live in a city. I mean, I'm from Kuala Lumpur. I'm Malaysian as well, and it's so, most of it is polluted. There's a lot of things that we could do better in terms of green spaces and creating a better environment. So when people tell me like, oh, I'm not really into environment, or and it never occurred to me. I get very frustrated. And now that I started my business as well, producing this material, so something like this over here, um it's having a team that is aligned with me. I think that's really been a challenge, because I started with, okay, I need this skill set, right? And then I just go and hire. And sometimes it's just about who's willing to join me with a little bit of a less salary or something, to start as a startup. And then I had to fire, three people have left, one of my first hires as well. And someone who was very critical, I thought, to the operation, but they didn't have that I want to do this for the planet. Like, I want to do this because I want to find a solution to the plastic problem. Like, they say it, but I don't see it in the actions, right? So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that misaligned us in terms of the company, but I feel like I would want someone who aligns with me on that basic. But people have also said, no, you can't hire just based on that, because maybe they don't have the skill set. But that's my vision of trying to find people who can speak that language and have technical skill set, and then we would grow a team of people who also want to believe in the same thing. That feels it would be less of a hassle, so less of an uphill battle to convince them. Because if I can't, they don't convince themselves, how would they convince our customers and stakeholders and everybody else, right? So yeah,
And
yeah,
Regis, I think I just jump in there and mention
yeah,
that
please.
skill sets are always learnable. Alignment
Yeah.
is hard to find.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Because I kind of tortured them, because they use, some of the team will go out and buy food, right? And then they'll bring it back in those styrofoam boxes, right? Because that's what they sell it in, right? And they don't bring their own containers. And so after like many months, I was like, you guys are creating so much waste, and you're gonna have to pay me 10 cents for everything. And all of them looked at me like, what? I was like, you work for a sustainable based company. What do you want me to say? Like, we can't be creating more waste than we clean up, because we don't even recycle here. But in theory, the state has banned styrofoam food containers, but it's very well alive. So, I would like for people to have that mentality that change starts with us. So yeah, very, very
Mm.
true. And I can build the skill set. Yeah, I've actually always thought that as well. So yeah, it's a painful lesson to have learned, but yeah, at least I know what to what to do next. In terms of planet, yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, did you say
I was
something?
gonna say that
Sorry.
you could also look at their past experiences, like did they join environmental clubs or maybe proof of their volunteerism?
Yeah, yeah. I have to. I actually, yeah, I did have some people who have been doing that kind of NGO work and marine work, and they wanted to work with me. So yeah, I probably go that route the next time I'm hiring. Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah, that's true. Um, so what does there's not that many people. That's the thing. I'm really surprised, because I really thought more people were into environment, but my own family is not. So I don't know why I'm surprised. But it's like it's
That's right. And sometimes the people closest to us may not actually
yes.
understand what we're
Oh my
doing. So
God.
don't be
I'm
don't
like,
be down.
I have to no, I studied chemical engineering, right? And then many years ago I went out on a hike with a friend, and then she opened up her car at the boot, and she took out a really big bottle of, those Coke bottles, right, with water. And then she started to drink it, and I was like, hey, how long has it been in your car? And she was like, oh, I don't know. My dad leaves it in there. And I'm like, why are you drinking it? Like, how long? You don't even know? And she's like, oh, don't give me your plastic lecture. And I'm like, you are an engineer. You an engineer. How do we convince other people that it's toxic when you know that it's toxic, and yet you didn't care for your own body? I was like, okay, never mind. But it's a really good example. I mean, it was a very, very important lesson, because it for me, at least, in terms of like, okay, but I'll skip the kind of product. It shouldn't be a choice for people. So that's, I mean, besides the feel and the look of the product, but it also has to be readily available, and that is accessible to people, right? It shouldn't have to be, oh, I'm only going to do this because it's a luxury thing, and only the rich people can afford it, because we perpetuate the myth that sustainability is expensive. And I don't want to go there, but as a startup, yeah, I might have to go that route, but the dream is to have it accessible to people and not have it to be a choice for people to have to make. Yeah. Okay, so I skipped planet. Well, healthy environment, I think most of us can agree. Something that doesn't have a lot of plastic pollution would be nice. And so I skipped to prosperity. What would you do with it? Yeah, so many things. I've always been into marine conservation, land conservation. I would, if I had so much money, I would just buy land and leave it alone and just stop people from buying it. That's what I would do. I would just buy as much land as I can. Yeah,
And you know
that's
who
for me.
actually did that? There's actually
Ooh,
someone who actually did that.
oh,
Actually quite a few people who have actually did that. But here in the
nice.
UK, I don't know
Okay.
if you're familiar with Peter Rabbit, that story.
Yeah.
It's written by a lady called Beatrix Potter.
Yep. Yep.
And she actually gained so much money that she
Ah,
bought up
yeah.
land in the Lake District and literally
Did
gave it to
she?
the National Trust. She was a co-founder of the
Oh, I
National
love
Trust.
National Trust. Yeah.
Yeah, so she
Okay.
allows it to be accessible for people to enjoy the natural
Oh,
beauty that inspired her to create all those little stories that she created.
oh, that's nice.
But that she used it with becoming very successful
Hmm.
with her business.
Yeah, because I mean, from COVID, we all know that we can't take anything with us, right? So, I mean, what are we trying to get all that money and things for? Yeah. Okay.
Mm,
No.
mm.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll challenge you a little bit, Rajesh, to just
Sure.
make
On.
the vision even stronger, especially when
Okay.
you're talking about the planet, healthy
Mm,
environment. And then you later said
mm,
that you were very into marine. I
mm,
think it would be really useful if, like, in your mind, it
mm,
was very clear what you
mm.
meant by healthy environment. Let's say in the marine space,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Like, so for
Ah.
when you said that, for me, I was like, okay, it means that like any beach that I see, no matter in city or wherever, I can literally like run into the water without getting like
Mm.
submerged in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that was
Yeah.
me. How about you,
Okay, make it more
Rajesh?
visual. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's true,
How
like
would it
you.
feel like? How would it look like? How would it feel like?
Uh no, I mean any waterway really, yeah. It's not only marine or ocean, but any waterway in the city, drains, rivers and everything. There's no plastic pollution there, right? So it would be a clean environment. And I visited the landfill and it's horrible, you know. So actually, yeah, I mean the clean environment would be no plastic waste or pollution anywhere. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah. So people are free from the effects of the plastic pollution.
Mm,
Is
mm.
that clear enough or no? Like,
Yeah, yeah. And as
you
you were
want me to
just saying that,
visualize?
right? I just had
Yeah.
like this random thought. And Cherry, just tell me if this is like a random thought that may be useful for branding. But it almost feels like you also feel bad for the plastic, right? That if it is supposed to be functional, it should be used.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be like
Yeah.
stray kids on the street.
Yeah. Correct. Correct.
They're
Yes.
abandoned. Nobody cares
Abandoned.
about them. They use them, they gave birth to them,
Throw them
and they just throw
away.
them there. And they don't care whether they got food or whether they got shelter. They don't care anymore. And every time we see plastic floating around wherever, you know, it's like stray kids being left there.
Yeah. Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true.
I don't know. That was
No,
just a
because
random thought that came about.
no, it's true. But I was joking with a friend because I'm sorry. Do we have time for stories? Yeah, it's like I was talking to a friend. I mean, I'm 20 years from oil and gas. You know, so not that I saw the light. I saw the light earlier, but you know, it was that I guess having that career allows me to start my startup. So I will not complain too much. But I think we were talking and we were like we understand the complexities of getting the oil. You know, it's not an easy job. That's why they pay us good money, and there's a lot of technology and there's years of investment and technology development and all that. Okay, and plastic is so cheap because of technology, right? But for that little plastic cup or that really horrendous polystyrene bag or whatever, a box or something, and it just gets tossed like it's nothing, you know, all that amount of technology and people power and investment and billion-dollar blah blah blah, you know, and we have some shitty little cup that we just throw away without even thinking. It feels so disrespectful to our our skills, you know, for engineering, for all this knowledge that we have built, you know. And it's like and people work offshore, it's dangerous and blah blah blah, and people lose lives for all this. And for this plastic cup, it's so ridiculous when you put your ketchup and then you try. Okay, obviously it's not that's the only use case, but you know what I mean. Yeah, instead of obviously energy is a big part of it, but still, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you shared the story. It just prompted me to think of somebody else who shared a similar story, and they're in
Oh,
events
really?
and exhibitions, and they were like,
Ah, nice.
the amount of effort we go into building up the booth and creating all this
Mm.
content,
And
and
then
then
it's
in
thrown
3 days,
away.
right, the people just whack it down like it's nothing, and they
Mm-hmm.
just throw everything away, and it
That's
just
Mm.
breaks
true.
the heart,
Most people don't even remember it, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
It's part of our design process that we use the booth into their office. Like
Mm.
I would ask them, can we use this in your reception area, or can we use these things like
Yeah.
in your showroom so that it doesn't just end up in a warehouse or it doesn't get trashed.
Mm.
Wow, that's a really great way of approaching your profession,
Mm.
Mm.
and with this sort of sustainability or impact thinking in mind. I love it.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's the best that I could do for now. I mean, because I'm not yet like, I mean, like I said, I've been in this business for over 2 decades, and clients,
Mm.
when they approach us, they have their own, they have their own agenda. So I try to bring in my own values into the picture, but it's still their decision, right? But I try to influence them the best that I can.
And the
Mm.
more that you are clear on speaking out what your brand wants to do, the more those type of clients will come to you, right?
Yes.
The
And I'm
more
more
the ideal
confident
clients.
with you also, like this ecosystem that you're building. And I'm really glad that I met you and that we're part of this.
Yay! That's a great win. Right. So, do you think we would have time to hear from Siri? But I think she's currently occupied. Do you think, Cherry,
Mm.
maybe we could like introduce the Ikigai framework first,
Yeah,
and then we can
yes,
circle back?
sure, sure. Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh,
do you want to share Blue Thumb's one?
cool. So our purpose is alignment, clarity, and ease for excellent brands. So we also choose who we work with, and it's important that they're excellent in their own way, because if it's substandard and we add branding or good design to it, then it wouldn't be living up to the promise of the designs that we do, and that would be lying. So that's also why we choose who we work with, based on that criteria. And then the people that we want to be around are leaders, creatives, and not just people in the top level, but also frontliners, right? Who represent the brand day to day. Are they acting with the discipline and vision and structure in mind that they uphold the brand that we're building? And then for planet and country, we want the design to be lasting. So, like I said, with the booth, because some booth designs here in the Philippines are tactical, like they're not branded. So that's why they can't use the design in their office because it's not aligned to their brand. They did something trendy, right?
Mm.
They did something maybe fashionable, but it's not on brand. So we make sure that the design is aligned so that it can be used for other purposes, not just the booth. And you'll see that later with Tapa King, like so down to the illustration that we did for them that was supposed to be for HR to somewhat guide their culture. The franchisee from Dubai loved it so much, he made it into a mural in their food court. So
Oh.
it communicated not just to employees but also to customers because the design, was on brand. So it's not wasteful. Like things that you use for one touch point can be used for other touch points. So it also saves you time, money, and energy, and it honors nature. And then, so for the product, brand identity and experience. So that's what we do. We help you create an identity first, something that's ownable to you, and then translate into the experience or the expression of how you do things day to day, that it's aligned or authentic across all touch points, like what Legion said, right? It's not about it being scale all the time, but it's about how do you um, express your brand in every moment, in every touch point. Like, how do you sound? How do you look? How do you taste? How is quality expressed in all those ways? Um, and then prosperity. Well, my daughter goes to a Waldorf school, so I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they like as young as kindergarten, there's no plastic in their school. So they use glassware so that children know what is real and
Mm.
they don't just, dispose of things or throw things on the ground because they know that it'll break. So yeah, so very fundamental. I think if I have like a lot of money, I would like to um have more Waldorf schools because I think they would also instill more values
It's
about
about
taking
taking.
and yeah, so the long and also plant more trees and serve more healthy food and yeah, branded ecosystems.
Wow, that's
Mm.
really powerful, Cherry.
Yeah.
Siri has just sort of
Sorry,
waved
I had it's busy.
Yep. But we
Where,
appreciate that you're here. Yeah.
yeah, where are
Yeah,
you from, Siri?
Norway.
Norway. Wow. Would you like to share your vision?
Yes, I took some notes and yeah, what yeah, how to bring joy, so or take away pain. So I our product and all the different solutions are touching very many pains. Um, so
What is the pain that you want to solve, Siri? The pain.
the pain is the uh, is the how it's
Say it in Norwegian first. Say it in
yeah.
Norwegian first. Yeah.
So the pain is that city, the gray design of the city is turning very often black into asphalt and it turning into gray, so more concrete. And we want to bring back more natural stone and colors and various designs because we make it possible to design more free than it has been before. When we have been building, so this is a new like construction technology. So it releases the design possibilities for payment. And by that, I want to engage all the landscape architects, but also the road engineers, and make them collaborate more and see the solutions more together, because now they work in
Silos.
different offices.
Oh.
And
What would
yeah.
what would the world look like if they worked together?
Well, it will be that is coming up really like on the last one, prosperity, because I wrote down here green cities and more social outdoor living. So I believe that if they collaborate more, we really have all the solutions within infrastructure and to make it even more green and social. I know they are working very hard on
managing that. But we want to be a part of it and show that this is a solid direction and give them more freedom to make that happen, because we can say, well, that's possible, we can do this very solid, and we can also keep it classic, historical, and or brand new futuristic designs. So about design, I think for the market we are looking for now, it's important to be shown as a solid, classic, historical.
What are they currently using if your product didn't exist?
Yeah, they
Like
use
what?
sand and cement, concrete.
Mm. And how is that not good, or how is that not like what is that doing to the world
Yeah,
if they
good that you're asking, because I also been thinking about this when I'm going to bed, that I should talk more about the air quality, because when you can bind more particles and build more with materials that will not release a lot of fine particles. It's very good for the air, but also will be helpful for maintain drainage, let the water run all the way through the ground, and also get rid of the problems that all the pipes are getting full, and yeah.
So you're also contributing to the health, right? Because it's improving the air quality. I mean, there are a lot of people with asthma and
Yes, we make it possible to build more with natural stone, and also have a binding joint that will not release a lot of dust.
toxins.
Yeah.
Is it toxins?
Well, in some sand you have some it's called quartz, that can be bad for cancer. So you don't want to really to have that dust. Yeah.
I was just about to also ask Siri, actually, when you were sort of like saying, bring back the natural colors into city, so it's not just black and gray. Like, why is that important to you? Why is cities not being gray and black important?
I am a visual person. I like to draw and paint, and I have not that. If I want to explain something for my employees, I use the board. That's my way of speaking. So I like to explain more visually, and I appreciate. So now when I see all problems everywhere, it's kind of frustrating, because I know we can do so much better, and I have a big mission to teach a lot of people in how to do things more long lasting for the perfection, but also for long lasting solutions. So, and I wrote also made in Norway. So we can use like Norway as a brand. Many do that, and they refer to maybe something pure, like pure water, snow, that kind of things. For us, it's we have a lot of competence within temperature. So so what we do, we have a temperature technology. So maybe that is something that can be more like visualized, that we have a lot of competence within various temperatures and various weather. I also wrote that I am very much engaged in city development, and has always been, because I wanted to be an architect. And I'm going the next week for something called Oslo Urban Week, where we gather all the city developers and speak about how to transform city areas that has more poor people and criminals, and how to like turn it around to environment that is. They have made some rivers that are very beautiful. We having a look at, and I really live for this. so it's and for me coming there, they will probably, oh, she is the lady that sells something for the surfaces, but I'm really more than that. So how to like brand that, I don't know. It's difficult. I think this is a very good lesson we do here, and yeah. So I think first of all we need to get the validation that they feel like they really learn a lot from listening to us, and then that we will help them develop even more new design, and also build more, bring back more of the historical, not like just shoving it away, and save the good things, and combining it with the new. Yeah.
That's so interesting. It feels like the people that initially you had described them as landscape and road engineers were willing to like see the solution together. But as you elaborated more and allowed your character to actually shine through more, it feels like the people that you want to be surrounding yourself with are people who are also looking to creatively express themselves. And your technologies enables them to do that. But at the core, they need to be wanting to creatively express themselves, and be people who can appreciate that, the visual pleasing sights of city is something important for them as well, and how true visually pleasing sort of visually pleasing and yet still very practically high performing, they can actually be a actor in the city development to change the realities that people live in.
Yeah, It's good that you said that, because that was my reflection from last year at the Oslo Urban Week, where we were doing a lot of things together, and I heard people were like more complaining. It's so difficult. It's so they're always like struggling to get through with their projects, and they are competing all on delivering on a new design. So they need to sell. Everyone needs to sell something, and I think we need to start being more open about collaborating, and that is, I see that we are supposed to collaborate, but still they have so much experience that, oh, that was so difficult and so on. So you need to have those people that are still working to get through something.
Mm.
They're really not ever giving up.
So the ones who say it's difficult are not on the same page as you.
Mm.
But the ones who care about preserving history and yet adapt to the future are your people. Because
Yeah.
they're not gonna say it's hard because they believe in that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Your people
and
are
they need to be
resplendent.
inspired that they had the position to actually do something, and maybe we can contribute to inspire them. Like, yeah, no, this wasn't working that back then, but let us look into the future now. So I think we can take a position to inspire them and set some examples. So the best thing is to set some examples of good collaboration. So I've been starting to say to people, you need to invite us to teach you more about this, because this affects so many layers. So but
And I
we
think that's
are
where the branding will help
putting,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, because you need to imagine you weren't the one telling them to invite you, but there were like email after email inviting you, and you
yeah,
just have to choose which one to reject.
yeah,
Yeah, because when you tell the story very clearly out, it feels like it's you're almost like laying out who is your ideal collaborator already. And
yeah,
everyone that doesn't fit what you just described to me and Cherry will automatically filter themselves out. So you don't have to waste time with them. The people
yeah,
that will actually reach out to you, and you need to give them a way to reach out to you, will be the people who already aligned with what you just talked about.
yeah.
But in order for them to align themselves, you need to actually say it out. This is the people that I stand for. These are the people I want around me.
I see that I have an appointment right now.
Yeah,
It's 1 minute walk.
yeah.
I'm sorry, it's busy.
Now, while Siri, you are going on to your next appointment, and Cherry, I'm sure you have some points as well to share. But before you go, Siri, I think it would be great that if you took advantage of Cherry's complimentary brand review session, that you can book a session in with Cherry to actually just go through and see how their brand management solutions may actually be able to help you get what you just described to us, like out there. Is that right, Cherry?
Yes, I actually took notes and there are already a lot of clues to what you said. I think like what Legion said, it's just a matter of expressing that in your how you present yourself so they come to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So,
We could
so we will send that out through email to everyone who's tuning in to this so that they can get in touch and book in that complimentary session with Cherry.
Okay, but thank you so much. This was very good session.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So, Cherry, I know that we've gone like super over time, but it was such good sharing. And I think the way that you asked a lot of questions prompted us to think a lot more about even just this vision itself and who we would like to stand for. I know we haven't actually even touched on your second technique, which is Ikigai. But this 5 Ps was definitely a really powerful exercise. And I would like to say a big thank you. Thank you for that.
So the reason why we do your vision and your ikigai, or we call it a bloom, like we're actually like getting inspiration from the ikigai, but we also want to make it ownable to us. So we're calling it a bloom framework. Yeah, so this is like, it's like a flower, right? You're uncovering and discovering more of who you are, like what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, what your strengths are. And by knowing this, like it helps me as a designer to know how I can help express what you do in your design. And that's what's going to attract your customers and employees. So the brand review is like for us to know this, and then I'll look at your assets, your current assets. So how you're currently presenting yourself, like your website, your posters, your yeah,
Social
even down,
media,
yeah, or yeah, how
brochures,
that you're using, do they
logos.
yeah, the logos, so the colors even, so they reflecting the brand or identity? Like here you can see in the middle it's identity, right? So like a good mother, how would a good mother look or speak, or if that's the identity that you want your kids to see and hear and be presented with. So yeah. So it
Mm.
would, and so it would just give you more clarity and self-awareness of the things that you'd want to keep and enhance, or the things that are, detracting from your vision or goals, and what are distracting other people when they see you.
Yeah, yeah. So for example, like in the hot seat that we had just now, it's not, if let's say there were people who were complainers and things like that, they would automatically not be able to associate themselves with that messaging that's talking about more proactive, creative expression, trying to make things possible type of messaging that is built into the brand, because that is part of what you love and what you're good at and what the world needs, something like that.
Yes, like if Siri's brand was very technical, then would it appeal to people who are into preserving history?
Mm, mm. That would be like a how hard to relate to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I know we're all business people here and we want to know what are the results of branding. So Tapa King, well for Tapa King, like in the Philippines, there are a lot of tapa or places that serve tapa. Tapa is like a meat, like a savory meat breakfast food.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, when they contacted us, they wanted to be like Filipino food all day, all night. Like they wanted to serve all sorts of Filipino food. But because their name is Tapa King, I discouraged them from doing that route because it dilutes their brand when their name says it all, right? They're the king of tapa. And now they're in Dubai, they're in Singapore. I mean, they're also going to Canada. So if they brought the brand that was about Filipino food all day, all night, then it wouldn't really be connected. I mean, like your assets, like your brand name is also an asset. They don't work together to convey what you're good at. So here we focus on tapa, and now they have, so initially they even had like fried chicken because of Jollibee, right? Um, like in the Philippines, everybody wants to be like Jollibee. So they were actually serving fried chicken. And that also distracted them from what they were good at, right? Like you wouldn't go to a Tapa King for fried chicken, but they tried it because they felt that that was what was selling in other restaurants. So by doing that, you also you need to spend money on buying equipment and recipes, formulating that. Your franchisees would need to take time off from running their business to learn how to make fried chicken when it's not even your core.
Yeah.
And so we helped them transform from being just like a restaurant that sells tapa for 30 years to a place that is warm and hospitable. So their previous brands, I mean, their previous branding. So whether you like it or not, you're actually a brand already. So yes, this slide. So here, they were presenting themselves in a more, well, well, they were using colors to show who they were, but I think the color red was like a more striking red. Like it wasn't like a warm red. I think they were going for, okay, red is known for food and that's the reason they used it because it's appetizing. But we took it a level further by making it like a more orangey red to reflect the brand, which is more about warmth and hospitality, which is known for Filipinos. So if they go out to other countries, they're bringing not just tapa, but the hospitality of being a Filipino. And so we applied it to the wooden furniture. So wood is, warmer than steel. The lighting is yellow lighting that is also warm.
You've just got to flash that back where the chairs and everything here were plasticky and yeah, typical fast food chain sort of look in that sense, right? Yeah, whereas this is definitely a warmer feel to it.
So even down to the photos or even to the plating of how they present the food needs to also be like a home. So it's, generous, not like you're scrimping. So here the plating where the egg is. So even down to how you would cook an egg for your family, you wouldn't rush it and it wouldn't look messy on the plate. It would look like there was care and that went into it, not like an overcooked egg. And these are the uniforms, the illustrations. So even the uniform, the COO said that their employees wear it with pride. Like they're more proud to be wearing this rather than like the typical, like you just put the logo on it. I mean, here you could see the elements like the leather straps or the material and the fabric. So these were intentionally chosen to reflect more warmth. Yeah, so even the fonts, right? The logo, like it looks like a cow, like with the horns.
So tapa is mainly beef, is it? Or is...
Yes. But tapa is basically like it's a process of like how you make something. So yeah, you could apply it to like chicken or pork, but here in the Philippines it's called tocino. But I guess yeah. But basically we want it to be like a breakfast all day. So that's why we also have the sun. So the sun is also reflected in the illustrations and also on the ceiling of the interiors. You can't see it here, but maybe in other pictures. And yes, and we also use actually the brown packaging came from the daughter of the owner. So she's a millennial and she also wants to take care of the environment. So that was her decision to really champion that they use natural packaging, and it did cost them more money. But they did it because it aligned with her values.
Yeah. And actually, just now while I was asking whether it was like mainly a beef dish, was that, even the leather and the way the apron's been made could easily also people might think it's like partially cowhide being used as well. It can almost have the additional storyline that, you know, every bit of the cow is actually useful. So there's the meat component of it, which is like the food part of it, but then in all its application, because raising a cow and then just slaughtering the cow and just taking the meat is like, as Raj just mentioned just now, it's like almost disrespectful to the cow, right? Because there's so much more that can be used. This cow literally gave its life to you, from the bones to creating broth, to the leather, to creating garments. And then how these cows have been raised eventually could become part of the story that the brand represents, in that, you know, it's not just like great tasting food. This great tasting food actually came about from this care, again, like how you would care for your livestock in a way that respects their life, like they gave their life, and we're going to utilize it as best possible, to make sure that it's not in vain. It's not like a crappy plastic cup that's just thrown away without any further thought, sort of situation. Yeah. Wow, that's really amazing. And these are the results, the outcome of the rebrand.
So in less than 2 years after they rebranded, so we launched in the pandemic actually. So they were actually
Wow.
really worried because they were thinking, should we hold back? Because like everybody was like holding back. So, but it's good that they made the decision to push forward, because they experienced 300% increase in sales because everybody was holding back. People took notice of them. Like past customers noticed the change, and people were some of their custom or franchisees were retiring, and they gave their retirement money to open a store, so they trusted Tapaking with that. And so they also have more internal alignment, like the COO said that there was less attrition during that time when it was a time of a lot of attrition, right?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And then 14 new stores as well. I mean, that's to expand so quickly in a pandemic. So
So the
wow.
warmth that you see in the store, it was also the same warmth that was applied in the head office. Like it wasn't just like a marketing tool. It was more like it's also how they treated the like the Grab drivers, like, you know, people who would visit their office, from the drivers or delivery people to the franchisees. Everyone was treated with the same warmth and hospitality that you would experience in a store.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And as of today, or these are more recent, so after 5 years, they attracted more franchise inquiries from younger markets, because that was actually their concern when they approached us, that they didn't have young customers. They were all like Gen X's and baby boomers. So now they're even attracting franchisees who are young, and they have more like before, like nobody wanted to offer them a space in their mall because of how they looked, like how the brand looked, but now they have, you know, more reputable places that want them, and they're also attracting more quality applicants from more reputable schools and other reputable companies, and their current franchisees are also scaling up, so they're now getting multiple franchises. So I think that's really a sign that, you know, they're deepening their relationship. So this is their COO, Melody. So she reflects the brand of being warm and hospitable. She leads it, and she finds people who align with that.
These are amazing results. I mean, like it's really not just pure sales, you know. It's just the entire sustainability of the company itself, I think, would have shifted because of the way that you are attracting new younger generation of not just customers, but even franchisees who's willing to grow your business, and not just to open one store with the franchisee, but actually helping it, you know, go multiple stores. Wow, this is really amazing. It shows so much in how quality relationships can be drawn to a well thought out brand.
Melody isn't the owner, and yet she treats it like she's the owner. It's because she was part of building the brand.
Wow. Wow. This is really powerful. Thank you, Cherry.
Trust her to carry on, right? And I mean, they trust her to lead the company. So just some key takeaways that like the powerful vision is what can guide you and your people to make the business more sustainable and to adapt to changes or any uncertainties that the like right, like the pandemic, they were able to carry it through. And you're aligning, and yeah, the Bloom framework enables you to align with your brand, and yeah, it brings more longevity and clarity and commitment from the people around you or the ecosystem that you're building.
Yeah, this is a really great takeaways. And I think like from my end, like I mentioned, the outside in clarity is what a lot of people be telling you you need. But without the inside clarity, then it's easy to get lost in those waves and be thinking that you need all sorts of certificates and things like that for it to work. So really working on that sort of inside clarity will make things easier for yourself to make very critical business decisions or even career decisions, actually, in the case like Melody, to really believe and own that sort of brand itself is amazing.
Enough to die if no one takes care of it.
My daughter. It's all right.
Mommy, there's a
Just-
doggy outside.
Okay.
So with that,
Stray
I-
dog? Sorry. Thank you. Okay, yes.
Yeah, so with that, thank you very much, Cherry, for your time. It's been wonderful to actually learn from you, you know, this power tool of brand. I think it's super underutilized in a certain way. And very often when people say they don't see themselves in sustainability, it's almost like waiting for someone to give that type of leadership and direction of what to believe in. And the clearer that we are as founders, and the clearer that we are as businesses about what it is that we stand for, what is it that we are pursuing this for, and in what way, the easier people will feel that they can join us in that journey. So I would highly recommend that everyone in sort of listening into this training actually take advantage of working with Blue Thumb to actually experience the difference when you have a proper sort of brand strategy that aligns with brand clarity, so put in place. It's more than just marketing. It's more than just looking pretty. It's a deeper thing that can really give you that exponential growth, as we've seen with Tapa King. With that, thank you again, Cherry, for your time. Any last words or thoughts that you have in mind?
I think that, yeah, that's really your advantage. Your natural advantage is to know yourself. And that's something that nobody can take away from you.
Right. So thank you very much, Cherry, and we will see you guys next time at another training. If you haven't listened to our podcast with Cherry yet, it's also available on Spotify and our YouTube channel. You can look for us called Circular Insights. Cherry also shares many more examples during that podcast interview. Yeah, until we meet again, thank you and see you. Goodbye.